Professor Lim San San.
Honourable members of the House, if fake news was the word of the year for 2017, POFMA could go down in Singapore's history as the word of the year for 2019. Indeed, this acronym for the Protection from Online Falsehoods and Manipulation Act, nifty by accident or by design, has entered into our colourful Singlish lexicon. People have since been heard saying such things as, "You better watch out, they POFMA you, then you know," or "Wait, you kena POFMA." Indeed, so versatile is POFMA that it can serve as both a verb and a noun. So, jokes aside, the sheer liveliness with which this new bill has been discussed, both online and off, has brought to light several issues. Singaporeans acknowledge the scourge of online falsehoods and recognize the need to do something about it. But Singaporeans also care deeply about our online space and our freedom to discuss and debate within it. Hence, there have been several aspects of the bill that have stoked the greatest debate. These have been given considerable airing over both online and mainstream media and addressed by the Minister yesterday. I would like to focus on the need for a collaborative framework within the bill, which, as currently drafted, is lacking. Mr. Speaker, the problem of online falsehoods is both multifaceted and unwieldy, necessitating a more creative and collaborative solution. Indeed, borrowing from the experience of our labour movement with its tripartite model comprising government, employers and workers, we can foster an innovative tripartite approach for tackling online falsehoods. One that comprises the government, media and technology companies, as well as media literate consumers. As currently proposed, POFMA requires internet intermediary companies to reactively respond to the directives of the state rather than to proactively develop other strategies to douse the spread of falsehoods. This may not be the best use of their resources. Instead, we should consider a more cooperative relationship that can facilitate mutual cooperation, education and engagement, where the state can be apprised of the latest technological trends and solutions, and technology companies can be schooled and reminded of the societal values that they must uphold. Since being tabled, POFMA has drawn criticism for vesting individual ministers with the power to determine falsehoods and take action. Such views reflect the visceral resistance that people have to granting exclusive authority to a small number of individuals in our pluralistic media landscape. Furthermore, the proposed key measures of targeted and general corrections are based on evidence that when consumers are presented with both the original falsehood and the correction, they can consider the information in its totality and form their own conclusions. Although POFMA is meant to be platform agnostic, the evidence that we currently have on the effects of corrections is platform, context, and even demographic group specific. This raises several intriguing questions. Will targeted and general corrections counterproductively amplify the original falsehood to a wider audience without a guarantee of the original or new audience reading the accompanying correction? Will we perversely and inadvertently create a cognitive shortcut where people seeing an official correction presume that the original falsehood must be true precisely because it is being vehemently debunked? Will falsehoods that do not come with corrections be summarily assumed to be true? Such unintended outcomes of a correction strategy cannot be ruled out, despite our best efforts and intentions. With the relentless proliferation of new communication platforms, many of which increasingly offer encryption to safeguard privacy, consumer habits, skills, and even biases will evolve constantly. The execution of targeted or general corrections will differ from platform to platform, translating into varying degrees of consumer exposure to the corrections and with varying levels of effectiveness. I would thus like to propose that if the Minister must retain the authority to issue directions expeditiously, he or she should be advised by a panel of experts representing the technology industry and media consumers, somewhat like the Film Consultative Panel. In other words, the Minister should have at his disposal the wisdom of an advisory panel that can determine whether a particular course of action is realistic or practical, or whether it could be counterproductive. For instance, a correction or takedown order in some situations might be either inefficacious or serve to further entrench the falsehood in question. Further, the type of targeted action could differ depending on the type of media platform. What works for Facebook may not be as effective as for Telegram or YouTube. The role of the technology companies in this panel is thus not to promote their vested interests, but to identify industry best practices on what is most efficacious and practicable in the circumstances. The workings of such a panel need not slow down the process. Members can be pre-appointed and deployed at short notice to advise the Minister. There is no issue of accountability because the Minister retains the final authority to take action. But with this panel, the Minister can act with the benefit of a wider range of views extending beyond those of civil servants. Going beyond POFMA for the longer term, in order to better align with the democratized nature of our media environment today, we should further concretize the tripartite approach to tackling online falsehoods. We should establish what I call an Information Integrity Institute, or ICUBE for short, to supplement POFMA's correction regime. It should be funded by contributions from all media and technology companies. These can be pegged to a graduated scale commensurate with, for example, their annual returns from advertising. ICUBE will play a critical fact-checking role and develop the expertise to do so swiftly and effectively. It can host an online repository of verifications of falsehoods. Over time, it should develop a reputation as a reliable third-party fact-checker that is the first port of call for consumers in need of authentication. It should also play a capacity-building role to professionalize newsmakers in the production of quality information and raise ethical standards within the media and technology industries. It can also set the research agenda by offering grants to investigate the effects of online falsehoods and potential solutions to the problem. Consumers, too, can be involved in helping to flag suspect news. With robust fact-checking accessible to all consumers, we can nurture greater individual discernment and reduce our reliance on state-issued corrections. Due to its shared funding, ICUBE will be less liable to attract allegations of partisanship and therefore more likely to engender trust in its determinations of truth and falsity and the verifications and refutations which it issues. Communication platforms are evolving rapidly, and along with them, news dissemination trends and media usage patterns of consumers. In light of these shifting complexities, the possible unintended effects of legislative approaches to addressing falsehoods must be closely monitored and amended if necessary.